Welcome to this week's episode of Sojourner, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the ongoing series, How Spaces Define Masculinity, a Black and Black-Biracial Men's Initiative. My name is Carol Jean Matthews-Shifflett, and I am the CEO of the Sojourner Group. I'd like to start by thanking my sponsors, the Utah Jazz, Planned Parenthood Association of Utah, Pacific Island Knowledge to Action Resource, PCAR, the Utah Coalition Against Sexual Assault, UCASA, and Enlightened Productions. So today we are centering the voices of two men. Billy Palmer is the co-host, associate producer and director of civic engagement for Radioactive on KRCL in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then we have his formative years were spent here in Salt Lake, in Utah, which surprised me. I thought Billy was not from Utah. And then we have Chris Allen, who's the project manager of LG Harris Technologies. His formative years were spent in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I want to welcome both of you men, Mr. Palmer and Mr. Allen, to today's webinar. The next question is, because of these, we're witnessing all these murders of Black men and women on social media these days. We're seeing it every single day. And one of the questions was, do you feel like Black masculinity poses a threat to mainstream society? So, and to piggyback on what Billy just said, to be Black in America. So Chris, can you address that for me, what you think about that?
Well, I think it's more of the threat. I mean, the threat is there. I mean, they don't, I think it's more ignorant. They don't understand. They don't understand us. I mean, they think that a lot of people think that Black men are a threat to them, that we're going to take their jobs. We're going to show them out that a lot of us are drug dealers or either just play sports. I mean, it's like when I moved to Utah and I would be flying home and you sit on the plane and then they say, and you're going home for Christmas or Thanksgiving, then they would say, oh, where are you going? I say, I'm going home to visit my family. Oh, where are you from? I was like, I'm from Tennessee. What brought you to Utah? Are you an athlete or are you in the Army? And I was like, no, I have a degree and I'm out here working. And then they have that look on their face like, oh, I just thought y'all either played sports or was in the military or something, But I think it is a threat. But when we go with the police brutality, and Carl, me and you talked about this.
Yes, we do.
I look at it from both sides of the spectrum. I mean, say if you were speeding and you happen to be the unlucky person out of 10 cars on the interstate that get pulled over and you happen to be Black and the cop that pulled you over was white and you were speeding. If you have an attitude because he stopped you and he has an attitude because he don't like a person of color, that's not going to go well for neither one of y'all. But if you just say, okay, and he could have pulled you over because you was Black. You don't know, but at the point, if you knew you were speeding, just come up, give him your stuff. He should just take your stuff, run the things, sign the paper. You go your way, he goes your way, you go your way. But the attitude, and like I said, I look at it on both ends. And if you're a cop, you don't know who's in the car, and then if you're in the car, you don't know what kind of attitude that cop has. So both of y'all are being defensive. Both y'all going to be on the defensive side because you're going to want to defend yourself. Because when you get pulled over, you're like, okay, is he one of those cops that's going to kill me? Am I going to be just like George Floyd? Am I going to be like Ahmaud Arbery? Am I going to be like one of those guys? So I want to make sure that if he's coming at me wrong, then I'm going to try to protect myself. And then the cop is looking at it, well, I don't know who this person is. It's going to be somebody they got a warrant for their arrest, don't want to go to jail, and they're just going to shoot me. So he's going to be protected. And I don't know how you get there to resolve it, but it's there. And I wish it would be to where you could just say a cop pull you over for doing something illegal and they just let you know what you done, give you your stuff and go about their way and not try to be, just because I'm a cop, I can have an attitude and I can treat you any kind of way just because I have the law, I have this badge on. No, it shouldn't be that way. But I think I think there's more, they don't understand us. They think that we are a threat. And it's like, no, we're not a threat. It's like, I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. I'm trying to provide for my family. I'm trying to make myself a better person. And I mean, that's what basically everybody's doing. Providing for your family. I want to go to work. I want to become a better person. I want to gain knowledge. I want to learn, and I want to experience things. That's basically what it is. I'm not trying to, I don't want to be you. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to be me.
That's true. Let me ask you this, Chris. You are a biker. So you're
Yes.
always out on. I have a cousin who likes to ride bikes a lot. And I know his wife, who is white, does not like him out on those trails. Um, and I know you go out on your own sometimes. How does it feel when you're out there on that trail? Are you afraid?
No, I'm not. Because
Okay.
no, I'm not afraid. A lot of times when I ride my bike, because I'm a road biker, I try to go on streets that don't have a lot of traffic. But then again, you have your people that just doesn't like cyclists, period, and they don't think you should be on the road. So you get those the ones that try to drive too close or blow their horn or whatever. They flip you off, cuss you out, whatever they do. But as far as being on a bike since I've been riding since 2012, so it's been 8 years. I haven't came across anybody that treated me as far as racism because I'm black on a bike. I haven't came across that.
Are you going against traffic or with traffic? So I
I'm
know if
always
they see your face.
I go with traffic,
With traffic.
so
Okay. So
they come in from behind me.
okay. All right. All right, Mr. Billy. Do you feel like you are, or black men are a threat to mainstream society? And if so, how so?
Well, I don't feel like black people are a threat to society. I think we're perceived to be so. Yes. But there was a virtual reality. There was a virtual, yeah, it was a virtual experience at Sundance a couple of years ago called Driving While Black,
Mm-hmm.
and it talked about the history of the Green Book and also the experiences of black people in America, and it ended with um, Tamir Rice's mom in a conversation, and it was really impactful. Um, but yeah, just when you think about Tamir Rice and the quick split second decision for a police officer to drive up on him, jump out of the car, and shoot him, that is the worst of the implications of profiling and the fear of black males. That's the worst of it. The smaller, I don't like living in a comply or die society, and I think that's when you're black, that's what you live in. You live in a comply or die society. Go along, and well, I advise my children whenever you get pulled over by the police, whether you know they're wrong or you think they're wrong or they're right, you do the same thing. You get home safe. That's your number one job, is to get home. You can be mad about it. I've had my son profiled playing at the park, getting
Mm-hmm.
ticketed for loitering, and he was the only one of those kids. I mean, those kinds of situations happen, and you deal with it. Those are the least worst to happen. But I just I don't like living in that society. If we were getting pulled over at the same rate as white people for traffic violations and not our skin color, then then we'd be talking about something totally very, very different. But we can't have that conversation until that's the case.
Right.
Right now, what another thing that reminded me, and the reason I brought up the experience driving while black, is this woman said something that really resonated with me. In that is, we don't have a green book anymore, but we have a green book in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation is carrying around a green book. I don't drive through small towns in Utah or small towns anywhere if I don't have to. I mean, I absolutely have to, then that's the only time I do. I don't drive through small towns on the weekends and at night. And when I do, couple times out of 10, I'm going to get pulled over, and it's going to be for something really silly and really stupid. You know, I don't know anybody that's been pulled over 3 different times for not pulling out of a parking lot and stopping at the sidewalk before you get onto the street,
Hmm.
even though you're being extremely careful about it. I used to work in film, and so I had to travel a lot. I worked on locations at that in film, so I did a lot of scouting for locations. So I've driven all over Utah, and I know Utah really well. Um, but
Hmm.
the thing about it is, to go and do a job. I did a wrap out job in American Fork or Spanish Fork, one of the two. And I forgot to bring my lunch, and I thought, shoot, I know the route off of the freeway to the location because I worked on that show and I was on set for a couple of days. And so I knew it was really close to the freeway, that my route was to get to there and then get right back on the freeway and not be seen by
Right.
small town America in the middle of the day. You know, it was a Saturday. I was wrapping it out in the middle of the day. And I'm like, oh man, I have no business being in this town
Yeah.
and being black on a
Yeah.
weekend. Why are you here? You're probably not here working. You know what I mean? And so I wrap out the set. I know that local police have to know there was a movie being shot there. So I know if I do get pulled over, I can at least say, yeah, I am working here. If you look in my van here, I've got all kinds of, like film equipment that I'm wrapping out a set, and I forgot to bring my lunch, and I thought, dang it, that means if I get hungry, I'm going to need to go further into town. I need to go and get
Hmm.
food, but I'll probably be okay. So I'm driving my, truck, go and pick up food, come out, and I'm thinking, okay, now I just get back to the place. But it's in my mind the whole time. I am black in this town. I'm going to get pulled over. It's likely to
Right.
happen. And I don't pull. I pull up to the sidewalk and I pull out. When you're black, every rule, traffic violation. You make sure you drive during the speed limit. You stop at every stop sign. You don't get distracted. You think about what you're doing. And
Hmm.
I was driving perfectly, just making sure I don't get pulled over. And I got pulled over for not stopping at the sidewalk, which has happened way too many times in small towns. This is an honest experience. And he says, you didn't stop at the sidewalk before you pulled out of the driveway, it was a strip mall basically.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, I'm just going to
Yeah.
have to take your word for it. I'm
Yeah.
not really paying attention to that, but okay. And the only thing that made me angry was when they give me the ticket and don't let me off with a warning, because
Mm.
then I'm having to pay for my black skin. But I'm realizing you're going to be protective of your town. There's a black dude just driving around in your town in the middle of the weekend. I don't like that. I don't think it's right. I think it's their own perception of my skin and what I am and how I'm dangerous and how I'm not supposed to be there. And it's very much racism, systemic racism. But at least don't make me pay for the ticket.
Right.
At least
Right.
don't make me pay for my black skin. And there was another time that happened. I went to go pick up a table from my ex-wife's grandmother's house. She had passed away, and we only had one more day before they were going to come empty out the house. And so I said, I don't go into small towns during the evenings or on the weekends. And so I went on late in the evening. I said, well, let's wait till it gets a little bit darker so that I'm not seen as much.
Mm.
And I made sure, I said, your brother has to come with me. He was white. And so I have a white person in the car. Well, those are the things we have to think about. And I got pulled over for the exact same thing. I didn't pull up.
Right.
She asked me to go and pick up a pregnancy test. Like, are you kidding me? And I'm thinking, well, on the way home, there's no grocery store other than if I go in this town, because I live in Salt Lake, sort of downtown, and there's no grocery store. So I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to get back in my car and nothing's going to happen. I'm going to be okay. Don't be ridiculous. Got pulled over for the same thing. And I had a glass table in the back of a van, right? And so I know I pulled out real slow. And I'd already been pulled over twice in a small town for not stopping at the sidewalk before you pull out. Now, this is ridiculous, right? He follows me all the way to the freeway, waiting for me to make a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. So
Oh,
why
wow.
I get pulled over on the side of the when I'm actually on the on-ramp. I'm like, okay, I'm home. I can just go home. He's checked it out, and he pulls me over on the side of the ramp and runs through the whole thing, and then he gave me the ticket. And at that point is when I got verbal and said, hey, Like, I know why you pulled me over. You know why you pulled me over. There's no reason to do the ticket. I'm a safe person. He asked all those questions that you ask a black person. Do you have a job? Where do you work? Those aren't pull over ticket questions. Those kinds of questions. Where are you going? Where are you coming from? Because there's suspicion. There's suspicion about who you are being where you are at that time, right?
Right.
So you're a suspect without having done anything. And so then he gives me the ticket. I get verbal, and he says the key words. We can do this the hard way, or we can do this the easy way. And so I'm given the ultimatum of doing it the easy way. The hard way, of course, I take the easy way. I say, tell you what, I'll go fight this ticket in court. Okay, fine, bye. And he held me there until I was back into my subjected self. He wanted to know he was being respected by the time I left, that I wasn't accusing him of racism. And so he gave me a lecture on why I shouldn't tell police officers that they're being racist before I had to go. So I had to take this lecture as well and just go on and live, not get beat up, not get pulled out of my car, not get, you know what I mean? So it's not something that I'm very fond of growing up this way.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the next episode on How Spaces Define Masculinity, a Black and Black biracial men's initiative.